Welcome to the Outcast tier list with Batfo Haku. I'm Brandon, or Longton, or Goodman, or I don't know anymore. We're running out of gags. Landon, quick, take it away.
Oh, they're gags? I'm Landon.
All right, and here is Outcast. We're joined by the Danger Planet folks,
Woo.
Yay.
Sam and Brandon.
Yeah.
And with
All
that,
right.
I'm just going to awkwardly go right into Outcast. We're going to start with our friends at Schemes and Stones' favorite master, who is utter trash. I'm just kidding. This guy got buffed the hell out of with Yannick. If not S, he's A. I don't feel comfortable putting him in S, so I'm going to put him in A, mainly due to the fact that he's a big beefy boy who can hire Yannick and his crew and draw obscene amount of cards and just hit things. That's about it. It works everywhere. Cards are good everywhere.
Yeah, I'm totally comfortable with Von Schill in A. I mean, I'm never like, oh shit, Von Schill, I'm totally dead now. But I'm often like, oh no, Von Schill, this is going to be a real nasty game. Like, I never feel like, oh good, my opponent picked Von Schill, I'm going to have an easy go of it. I mean, he's got a really good gun. He fights in melee. His crew is strong. He draws lots of cards. He has some really cool toolbox utility. Yeah, he's an A. No problem with it.
All right, here's the argument for S. You guys talked about how he's toolbox utility and punches things, but you didn't talk about how he's probably the best scheme runner in Outcast. So, like, if
Donald
we were
Trump
to
voice,
just take...
wrong.
No, you're wrong.
Not
Actually,
Terra.
He's literally better than Terra in that he can push leap like 6 times in a turn. So, like, you have his normal leap, right? And then you have his equipped push leap from every crow you want to spend on it. And it costs a bunch of cards, but you draw a bunch of cards, right? And then he also gets Don't Mind Me off the Emissary. He goes real fast, real far, and then he can also charge through walls and stuff, right? So he can also displace things, unlike Tara, for one of his things. So he's very good at just like also scheming in addition to him being okay at killing with all of the focus and whatever. So I think he's good in basically every pool, and that he's just reasonably reliable as well.
Brandon?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I mean, I think that we pretty much said everything that I have to say. I don't have a whole lot of experience against Von Schill 1. I will say I probably agree that he's in A tier. I don't know about S because you said a lot of words real fast, Landon. I just didn't really understand any of them. So, Diving Charge seems real good on a master. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, is this your first time looking at Outcast cards?
This might be my first time looking at any Outcast cards ever, with the except. No, that's not true. I play Von Schill like every day, twice a day sometimes. But yeah, man, ooh boy. No, he seems fine. I guess I get his keyword. I think he doesn't have a lot of like marker removal. I think that's potentially problematic.
That is not true anymore.
Well, it's not true anymore because we're about to talk about.
No. I mean,
it's
also the Draken Trooper now just does it.
Yeah.
You
still want to never hire them, but he has them.
I mean, if you have to, you can, is what I'm getting at.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. Cool. Well, I mean, I like his totem. It's a little trunk.
Yeah. All right. I'll put out my counterpoints on why I'm still not going to put it in an S, and that's because one, his leap, as you put it, is him placing a different model, not himself.
No, he can leap himself.
Yeah, he can leap. He can load up
his
himself.
Upgrade, right?
Well, the idea is he loads up himself. He takes the crow, and then he gets to immediately do the leap that's on the boots, and then he gets to actually take the bonus action leap.
Sure.
Correct.
Okay, I get. Okay, that's the sequence you're talking about. I mean, like, sure, I agree. He's definitely potentially the best scheme runner.
I still think Terra is because the last
Outcasts.
activation thing, but I think Von Schill's very good too.
Also, anyone that just makes pass tokens, I give them a lot of pluses to scheme and strat running, and just in general. And that's honestly, I think that's the main reason I'm not going to give it to Von Schill put an S, because even though I agree with the fact that he is the best at doing it, I don't feel like Outcast is too blown out by that. That feature in and of itself makes a mess. I think you don't necessarily want him doing all that, because obviously spending Master AP isn't the greatest to do it. It's kind of like oh god, I have to do this, but good thing I'm really good at doing it, so I always have a fallback. which is it's nice. I just don't think it's good enough to go in S because I really like some of the Outcast masters here that I put above him, but it's definitely bordering. I could very closely put it on S if I didn't want to just load up S with too many masters.
To me, the argument for Von Schill in S, which I think is defensible, even if I don't agree with it, is that he like doesn't have bad matchups. Like, there's nothing that Von Schill's like, oh god, oh I really hope I don't see this. Like, he just does everything. He's great.
Well, simultaneously, like I haven't played against Von Schill 1 a lot, but I have played a couple games against Von Schill 2. I've never felt like, oh crap, it's Von Schill. And I mean, you said that as well, right? And I feel like S rank masters probably should instill some amount of that. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
See, like, here's the argument that I'll present then to just circle back and kind of close it out. Like, the whole idea to me of an S tier master is that you never have a reason you don't want to play that master, right? And that you have to convince yourself that there is a compelling, like, niche argument in the pool that would take you off of something else. And so for Von Schill just being like good against everybody and everything all the time, I feel like that reliability is what kind of puts him up there to me, as I get Sam was kind of mentioning. And I feel like he does have a lot of, like, at least for the stuff I play, oh shit kind of like things. Like, he's a beast against Yanlo too, in that, you know, he's got good tools to deal with most of his stuff. And, like, I don't know, he actually has more tech than I think most of the other Outcast masters is kind of naturally in his keyword. So I think he's got enough good points going for him to the point where it's like, maybe it's not flashy, but it's just like actually that efficient.
Yeah, to completely close it out. You'll see why I think on other masters why I put him below, and that's because my counterpoint is I would just take other masters in the pool. He does everything good, not great.
All right, so let's see how we think about his title version.
It perfectly fixes his one flaw because he does actually have a big flaw that's being stunned. So when you get worst case scenario, like potentially Pandora and stuff like that, you just have a good option. He's going to end up for me below, like, low A tier, high B potential. I'm willing to, you know what? I actually will just put him in B. Just because I do think you almost never take him over Von Schill 1. He's a nice, very specific strength. When Von Schill 1 gets countered, you can pick him. That's about it. He's good.
I mean, he does like crunch Pandora for various reasons, which to me is extremely entertaining, and I hate that master, so I would kind of want to put him high up for that. I would want him in A. I mean, the thing with him is that, like, I think maybe he's below the original, but I do think he is playable in most pools. Like, I think he has that ability to play in a variety of different pools. A big thing for me is that the fact that Von Schill's leap is on an upgrade and not on his card, which means Von Schill 2 still gets it, is kind of a big deal for me. And Instinctual is really good. Like, Instinctual is an extremely strong rule. So I think that it's very rare that I would like be taking an activation with Von Schill 2 and not feeling like it's very high impact, which I've previously intimated is kind of something that I use a lot to evaluate masters. I think he's more on plan than Von Schill 1. Like, he doesn't have a quite as broad a variety of stuff he can do. But I don't think that's enough to knock him down. I think he still has that ability to play in almost any pool. He just maybe is a little bit less effective than his original version in those pools. So I'd put him in A.
I think he loses enough off of the original card that he gets down to B tier for me. He's much slower because he doesn't have that move 6. He won't have a ranged weapon because unless you get him an upgrade, right? Which also is locked behind Tien's. And importantly, he loses shouting orders, so that one of the key strengths you get with Von Schill 1, I actually equate the two in my head with their flexibility, but is that you have that ability on everybody to just pitch a card for the bonus to get the focus and then draw a card with the Yannick markers. And not having that, I think, really reduces the efficiency of the crew.
Yeah.
Your TNs start to matter a lot more than they do with, 1.
I hadn't thought about that, but that's actually a really huge deal. Yeah, that you sold me. B is fine, yeah, because losing that unique synergy is a big deal. Because the unique synergy is what puts Von Schill in A rather than B.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you now have like your bulldoze that is like just discount diving charge in most matchups where you need to flip a 5 of rams if you want the extra attack on it. You have to actually cheat 6s for your foul mouth TNs if you aren't, getting those off. It's a bit more or a bit less lenient as well. Yeah, overall, I think it's just weaker.
Yeah, you've sold me on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I probably would have put him in B, for all of the reasons that we talked about. I will say Bulldoze is a hell of a drug, but like where we see it in other crews, or well, I guess the other crew that can take it, um, it just sort of falls a little flat. Although the marker removal part is nice, and I think that Instinctual is very cool, but also like
You get the upgrades out to make it work anyway.
yeah. I mean, you'll have the upgrades out, but I don't know. He just like in all 3 games I think I played against him. I was like, oh, okay. I was expecting more.
So
Yeah,
here-
I think
here's
a big.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. A big part of it that comes down to me is this on B is he's this big suited Iron Man guy, and he's objectively more frail than Von Schill 1, and
Yeah.
that is actually super noticeable.
Well,
in-game.
I mean that's incredibly lore accurate.
Yeah.
He got beat the fuck up, man.
Yeah, he got
He's-
plague.
he's
That's why
not-
he's like in a walking iron lung.
He's not doing well.
Yeah.
You know, here's a thought experiment. I wonder how good he'd be if Instinctual was just 2 bonus actions, not 2 different bonus actions.
a lot better. 2 foul mouths on one guy could just
Or
be
just
massive.
leap
That'd be
twice
huge.
and be anywhere on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that
too.
would be a huge increase for that. I mean, I don't know if S, but that'd be wild.
A at least. Anyways, that's silly. We don't need to talk about things that aren't real. Let's talk about Terra, who's real.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Terra.
Is she?
Not the biggest fan of Tara 1 anymore, honestly. I almost want to put her in B, but I do recognize that the second activation and her ability to leap makes her a very formidable threat in like symbols and other good schemes and strats. So I will put her here. I almost like her as a second master, sometimes more, for those scenarios. But overall, I guess you don't get the second activation. Yeah, which sometimes I guess
Yeah,
Von
you
Schill's
don't
probably
hire
better
her
at
as
that
a
point.
second master. That master is not an A
Yeah.
without Adrift in Time.
That's fair. Yeah, I just put her in A. The summons are obviously worse now. I think she just got power crept a bit, but no matter what, she'll still be able to teleport around and always have last activation, pretty much. So
Yeah,
that's always good. Free pass token, kind of.
Terra's design frustrates me because she has a lot of like weird, cool stuff on her card, and it feels like she's really kind of redlining the rule system of what it's capable of doing. But a lot of the time, the best thing to do is just like time slip over and over and over again, because that's how you score points and win the game. Like I think she's good. I think she's A. I think she's low A. Because as you say, she's been a bit power crept. But like the last activation thing is like punishing, and I mean the only reason. I don't know. We'll talk about it when we get to her title version. I'm not enamored of her keyword.
Yeah.
I think she's really
It
strong.
sucks.
Her keyword is not very strong. Her keyword has like weird stuff that it sometimes just loses to. So, but she herself is just like the fact that you get 7 AP with her every turn. I mean, counting stutter time as an AP, which I think is fair to do. I mean, there's a floor on how good that can be, especially since one of them is a suitless leap. So yeah, low A.
I mean, I think she has at least 2 good models in keyword, and honestly, that's kind of all you need. But I don't disagree that there are better keywords out there. 100% A. You guys kind of also just missed the easy like backup plan of I'm just gonna take 5 AP of attacks with my master, and that's usually still okay with this built-in glimpse trigger.
Yeah, that's true.
So like, yeah, that's the only thing I think you guys missed.
Yeah.
I do think that if you're taking 5 attacks, the fact that the opponent gets the chance to interact or to activate between them is a little bit less threatening because of the
Not
the nature of
necessarily
Glimpse,
if
but
you're just doing it last activation.
that's
but
true.
fair.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to talk about Glimpse the Void. That is a trigger that I get so few of, and I've seen it used to amazing effect. It's just really powerful. I think having 1 million AP to throw, even though it's a 2/3/5, I mean, stat 6, I think it's fine. Tara seems really strong. Maybe not quite as strong as Tara 2. Who can say?
All right. Well, I guess with that, I'll just move into Tar 2, who I do just think is still S. I adore this master. I think it's ridiculously strong. I don't even think you need to do the full kidnap thing, which you can do, and it's always good. And the only investment you really need for it is her and 33. I think echo markers really turn on a lot of the crew. Scheme and strat running becomes pretty relatively easy. All in all, she just has so much good tech behind her, and really is able to turn on her crew in a way that Tara 1 doesn't, where you don't feel too bad hiring, some of the big beefier models in the crew when you can give them fast or, warp them around to protect them, heal them, do whatever you want with them, pretty much. Unbury them, take attacks with them. Like she just becomes a much more of a support master in a way that really allows her to just beat on people unsuspectingly. And generates pass tokens. Anyone who generates pass tokens, especially after resolving on a crow, amazing.
Yeah. I want to put an asterisk on the kidnap. I think without the kidnap, she's an A. The kidnap is so stupid. I hate that gameplay. Like I really dislike that gameplay. I think without it, she's not like B or C. She's still good. Without it, she's A. But yeah, I mean, she like actually makes me not want to like 33 is excellent. The rest of Obliteration's keyword is like Talos is fine. The rest of them are kind of like nah. But when they're fast, they're a lot better. When they aren't taking walk actions, they're a lot better.
Yeah, it's also purely 33, right? Like the fact that you have a stat 3 berry, guaranteed berry now in the crew is what really makes it work. Like you never had that before.
Yeah. So I like Terra too. I would like them to fix the kidnap. And I think the easiest way to do that is make rewind say instead of placing into contact with a drop marker, they bury and then unbury in base contact with a drop marker. That would be both flavorful and I think an elegant solution to that problem. But that would probably drop her to A, but it wouldn't drop her lower than that. I would put her above Terra 1 still, but below Von Schill if that was the case. But as it is, yeah, fine, S, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a lot of good stuff. Rewind is just such a versatile action and how it works. Like it does a lot, especially at range 10. So like she has better table play than perhaps it looks like as a support master, but like also can't downplay like resist X on a melee, right? Like sometimes you just got to kill something and it's willpower 4 and you're like, all right, that's good. But yeah, big thing's definitely going to be the kidnap that puts it into the whole S tier. But also just being tanky with the regen 2 stat 6,
Butterfly jump, that's pretty sweet.
Butterfly jump, like
I'm gonna descend from the group and say A. I think that the jump, the not the steal, the kidnap nonsense is crap. It's like, yeah, it's objectively strong. I just, it's like if it works and you sell out to do it, you're not losing much and it's sort of unbalanced. And I think it's just going to get nerfed. And when it does, I think that she's not going to be as fucking ridiculous. It's possible. Like, I don't really even think it's that crazy. I don't know. It's like, I get it that you get their master and maybe you kill it, but like, are you really going to kill it with like 2 attacks?
You're going to kill it with Talos and then like the nothing beast.
Okay.
I mean, it's not 2 attacks. It's like 3 activations worth of attacks.
It's like so what 3 conditions are you getting on them?
The distracted that they get when they get the coffin on them in the first place, and then the burning that Talos gives them when it immediately activates.
And then everyone has a chance to give them fast as well.
Yep.
Like every single model in the crew has a chance to give it fast pretty much.
I mean, I guess.
And then even then, you can go after. You don't have to go after a master that's already activated. I mean, that's like that's the problem. Is a lot of people tunnel on that.
Sure.
You can easily just kidnap like the super important enforcers that we know about now. Just important henchmen as well.
Yeah.
Like there are so many crews that are like turned on by single models now. Like Von Schill's turned on a lot by Yannick. If you just steal Yannick second activation from the crew, don't get any of the auras, don't get any of the card draw. Von Schill's just bad again now.
Yeah.
Like
it's
just a monster.
The berry, but the berry dies. The berry stops when 33 explodes. Yeah.
Yeah, but 33
is in your
teleports back to your
zone.
deployment zone.
Why?
Yeah.
How does 33 get back?
Because he goes back to the rewind marker. So he goes all the way forward 24 inches.
Yeah.
Takes your model, goes all the way backwards.
Yeah. I'm still gonna say A because that's dumb, and it really, I think that's gonna be fixed. I think he's not gonna be able to get away. At the very
they're
least.
just gonna make rewind bury and unbury you, because when you bury somebody 30, or when you bury 33, whoever they've kidnapped pops out. So
yeah. I think that's the fix that needs to happen. I agree. Until that happens, easy S tier.
Yeah, until that happens, she's S. But when that happens,
All right.
between Von Schill and Terra 1.
I
Talk about Zipp.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Zipp. We're Zipp. I'm not the biggest fan. He always like does something good though, and I'll never be able to put him that far below. I when I see him, I'm more afraid of him than Tara 1. But definitely less than Von Schill. Like he's obviously good in his maneuver abound and the crew he can hire from Bayou, but he's a filthy Bayou player and he sucks. But
Yeah, so obviously D tier.
yeah. Obviously
will-
D tier, but I'll have to respectfully put him in A to take this serious for the Danger Planet people.
Yeah, I will sing Zipp's praises. I am insofar as you main a master, I'm a Zipp main. I played him 5 rounds at the Malifaux, the Booty and Plunder tournament, and I won all 5. And I played him 2 rounds in the Content Creator Invitational, and I won both. So I was 7-0 with Zipp over the weekend. Master's insane. Like, obviously, I don't think he is as good as Von Schill. I think that he is extremely held back by not being able to interact, which when you first start playing him, you're like, oh, whatever, I wasn't going to do that anyway. And then the more you play him, you're like, oh, I really wish I could interact. But he's moving 8. Yeah. Oh my God. He just like, the one thing I would say, the one thing I would say is that I actually would say that he in Outcasts, he's significantly worse because 12 Cups of Coffee synergizes so well with him.
Fuck that upgrade.
Agreed, second, but 12 Cups of Coffee is like with him, it's like the best union of master and upgrade like in the game. And not having access to it is a huge deal. But he doesn't really, now that Francois nerf, he doesn't really hire out of keyword and Bayou that much. So you don't need to, it's not like he loses models in the Outcast pool. It's just the upgrade, but the upgrade is a big deal. But yeah, A, I mean, I don't think there's any pool that Zipp is like terrible in. He can kill things. He has a ton of maneuverability. He can move opponents' crew around really well. Those are all things you want to be doing.
I think he's B tier. I think the master not being able to interact is such a huge deal to the point where you basically get one model in the crew that's decent at interacting with the first mate, and all the other models just melt. I don't know. Maybe it's just this matchup that I always seem to run Zipp into. And to be fair, one of my locals gave me a pretty good run for my money at our last tournament with Outcast Zipp. But like, he had the perfect game kind of go for him, and he still lost 6-5. So
I mean, Outcast Zipp does get the Midnight Stalker, which I think is pretty good for that kind of thing.
I think the Midnight Stalker is a pretty garbage model right now. If I'm being honest,
I think he's better in
I think
Zipp
he really
than he is
needed the
elsewhere.
Demise Eternal to be still good.
The reason I like him in Zipp is that it's really trivial to get him over the center line immediately, and if he hangs out near a Skeeter, he's perma concealed in cover, which helps like a lot.
I mean, that's fair.
Were you playing
Yonlo melee attack anyways? No, I was playing Lynch.
Ooh, okay. Well, wow. Damn, maybe B is the truth.
So I really. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say.
I think that he has narrow enough weaknesses than that. Whenever I play against Zipp, I just kill everything that's not Zipp, and I seem to do okay. And I feel like he also struggles if you just get like flying models in base with him. I don't know. I never have problems when I see Zipp. I think he's B.
I really like,
at least an Outcast.
I
can see where he's definitely A enough in Bayou because you have a lot of like other degenerate stuff, but I don't think it's there in Outcast.
The only really downside that I see on Zipp is that he's one of those masters that just has a million different things that he can do, and you can play him very flexibly. So maybe he doesn't really like. I guess that's not really a weakness, but just in terms of like actual direction and what way to go with Zipp, like I can just imagine you making a few wrong decisions early on and then being screwed. But I guess he's very flexible and can recover, so maybe that's not even a weakness. I don't know. He's real fast. I've always been annoyed when playing him. So A tier.
Yeah, I'll stick with A because we have the actual Zipp players saying it, and also I do just think he's better than Tara 1 in a lot of scenarios. Up we go. Stat 3 is just I hate it so much. It really disrupts a lot of game plans.
It's got good triggers too. His up we go with the you're coming with me triggers. Stupid.
Yeah, I hate it. So yeah, onwards to Zipp 2. I don't like Zipp 2. I'm gonna be honest. I'm probably place him in similar. Yeah, I probably actually place him below Shield 2. I haven't seen him terribly too much, but when I do see him and also just reading his card, it's just like, man, I'm not a big fan of anything with shockwaves, and his attacks not the greatest. Losing 8 is sad. But he can interact now, which actually is definitely relevant on a move 6 flying model. But I still just view him as a lot more niche, and you only take him in very specific scenarios where you're not taking Zip 1.
Yeah, although, okay, here are my thoughts on Zip 2. I do have them. Zip 2 is like a lot worse than Zip 1. At first I was like, oh my God, he's terrible. He's probably the worst title master in the book. That's not true. He actually has some really interesting play to him. For one thing, he's actually really good into Zip 1. He's like the mirror breaker, which is kind of entertaining. But one thing I do like about him is distraction masters are pretty strong, and he's a distraction master that generates all the distracted your crew needs, which is good. The reason, so I still think he's a lot weaker just because it takes so much effort for him to do the things you want to do with him. And also 2 of his actions are extremely not good. Fire the cannons and full speed ahead are both not very good actions. There are times when you're going to do them. They're not useless, but they're not actions I'm excited about.
Mm-hmm.
However, I will say that Zip is just like how Zip 1 is weaker in Outcasts than Zip 2, or than in Bayou. Zip 2 is much stronger in Outcasts than in Bayou, and that is because of Yannick. Yannick is so good with Zip because Captain of the Infamy and Monologue both are asking your dudes to draw cards, and or asking your dudes to discard cards for effects, and Yannick is like, oh, you're discarding a card. That's fun. Why don't you draw one instead? The crew can also, like, Earl is really good at just like pooping out the scheme markers you need to make that happen. Because he can interact, chain gang interact. So I think you will have enough scheme markers to make use of Yannick and Zip. If you have Yannick and Zip 2, you are drawing so many cards between Booty and Plunder and Yannick's ability that I think that is like Infamous is cool, Showboating is cool, but you really feel it when you go down in cards in your hand because the original crew doesn't really have very much draw at all. So you can stay at parity when you cheat, but you can't really recover. And so like cheating defensively feels terrible, or like having to discard cards for effects feels terrible. And Zip 2 just draws a lot of cards and puts down scheme markers and hands out distracted while he's doing that. So it's not like you're just sitting around tugging your dick and like getting cards. You're actually, advancing your game plan. I realize I have not said a letter yet, and I've been talking for a while. Low B. I think that ultimately he is so like he is I just talked about how he has these strengths, which are cool, but he is really let down by the fact that he has a bunch of bad actions and his keyword is not terrible, but they're not really good at fighting, which seems to be what he wants them to do. And he just like has some very low impact activations, especially when you no longer are able to reliably draw 3 cards from Booty and Plunder when the board is thinning out a bit. So low B.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna go with D for Dogwater, but the cycling idea with Yannick actually does intrigue me to an extent, to the point where I think maybe you can just like take a model full speed ahead at 3 times in the enemy crew and just go crazy, and then like have the rest of your scheming keyword scheme. Like maybe that's an okay game plan. Maybe that's worth B. I don't know. I feel like that it almost makes it down to C for me, but
yeah,
I'll relent.
I would probably put Zip in high C, maybe low B. Like everything, like we talk a lot when we're talking about masters about what a bad activation with them looks like and how low the floor is, and I just like you can draw some cards. That's pretty much always good, but if you're not doing it and you could just be in a position where there aren't, especially if you're going up against a heavy marker removal crew, I feel like the floor on him is as bottomed out as pretty much any master could get. He can punch things, I guess, but he just loses all the cool Zip stuff. I'm not a fan. Although I do want to make someone walk the plank one day.
Yeah. I can definitely see C. Like I'm almost willing to move him there.
And like to be clear, the day that I see him, the first time I see him walk the plank, it's going to be somebody with a 2-inch melee range, and it's not going to fucking change anything. So like,
you know what? I will put him in C because I've never seen him win a game yet.
I mean, I've seen one person proxy him one time. Maybe that'll change once the model's out. But
I'm going to preview our Bayou video. He's definitely a C in Bayou. I think Yannick gets him to B. because
Yeah,
that's a lot.
I can
of-
agree with that. The potential's there, but I have yet to see it ever happen. And the problem with Outcasts in particular is even if you have all the cards, like Mad Dog is your best one to use it, and he's good, but
I think
there's
Eric's a pretty good
yeah,
host for
Eric.
cards.
Eric, I guess you could. Oh, that's actually Eric thrown in with a bunch of cards. It might be worth it. Really might put him to B. It's definitely on the border of B to C. I think. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna put it in C because I've never seen it win.
All right,
But
let's go on to
I could
Levy
be
then.
wrong on that. Levy, this guy who's been nerfed a million times. I think I am comfortable putting him below Zipp. Maybe above Zipp. I'll keep him above Zipp just because Irreducible is a hell of a drug.
Is that
And
why
that's
he
pretty
looks
much
so
what it comes
grumpy?
down to.
Because he's just been errated a million times.
Yeah, probably. So
Absolutely.
he's been nerfed a bunch. He's definitely weaker now than ever before. He was probably always an easy S tier because he is basically the only master you could play in Outcast when he was good. Now he's just old reliable. If you're against a faction that has a lot of armor, guild, maybe Arcanist, like you could just be like, oh, I'll take Levy to get Irreducible. And it's good. It's always good. He has cards. He has other things. Scavs are always good. His keyword's pretty decent because of that. And he'll never be bad. So I'm fine keeping him an A. I don't know exactly where an A, but he's a consistent master you could always play.
I think that there are more things now that hurt him really badly, like stuff that prevents him from healing, such that I don't think it necessarily drops him down to B, but I would take him down a notch or two in A just because he does have actually like god awful matchups now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like there's more stuff with Lantern, there's more stuff with, and there's even more stuff with Lantern coming. They've already previewed Lohith. Like if he gets tagged with like an effect that stops him from healing, like off max 2, he just has a terrible day. But I mean that doesn't stop the fact that he has one of the only, if not the only, ranged irreducible attacks. No, it's Hoffman. He still has a very strong ranged irreducible attack. God, I hate Hoffman. I mean, I don't hate him, but I'm frustrated that he's so good.
Well,
that's not what this video is about. Yeah, he's fine.
Well, I do hate Hoffman, but I agree with A below Zipp.
Easy
Yeah,
enough.
he's got some good like tricks that work well against some of the other masters we've rated highly, but he also has like some weaknesses against those masters too. I almost want to drop him down to B for that because like he's got enough like top tier masters he doesn't want to see right now. And
Yeah, like Lady
even
Justice
into
2,
matchups
just-
where he doesn't have bad matchups, he still puts a lot of emphasis on necropunks, and necropunks will like still be good, but sometimes you just don't draw those masks and then you cry. Like I don't know.
yeah, Necropunk's not having the mask on Leap is like fucking awful.
Yeah, I think necropunk's losing the mask on Leap is enough to make me want to call him B tier, just because like he has a bit more trouble scoring than he used to.
Yeah, I if it's at all helpful, I think I'm gonna say like high B, I guess, but definitely B tier.
For sure, top of B.
There's just so much that shuts him down, and like having your master's whole thing be that I have killed your dude. I just have an anti-demise or anti-heal aura. Actually, I guess heal doesn't. Well, anti-heal.
Anti-heal does hurt him because he's
Anti-heal.
trying to heal off ruinous repairs.
Yeah. It just like it seems to shut him down. I think ultimately I probably need more games against him to really sort of get the magic, but I am unimpressed by Doors. That's an L5R joke. Yeah. I'm in high B. He looks cool on the surface, but like there's a lot more stuff that messes with him now than there used to be.
I'm going to keep him an A. I actually don't think those things mess with him enough, and for a decent reason that I'm going into right now, which is Levy 2. He's B. But against the things that I think Levy 1 is weak against, Levy 2 is actually decently strong against in certain scenarios.
Don't know that I agree, but go on.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Levy 2. I think he's highly underrated because I don't like how people are playing him. All the games I've ran as him, admittedly, I was playing it a little wrong initially because I was declaring more than one suit, but that wasn't a big deal. When I did figure him out and
You mean more than one of the same suit?
Yeah, so I'd be like, oh, I can just try to draw 3 cards. You can't do that.
Yeah.
But it's not much worse when you can't do that. Just remember that, folks. It's one of the things I think people get tripped up by because I've definitely seen other people do it too.
On his
different suit.
melee attack.
Fate's Master, the thing that lets him pitch Fate tokens for suits, is one of each suit max.
Yeah.
So
You can stone card and get that to draw 3 cards, and I've done that in multiple games. It's really good. But you can't do it with just the tokens. That being said, he has decent healing. He generates pass tokens, which is always amazingly strong. And especially since he has the beaters and outcasts that no one else has, which is the horsemen. So you wait to go last with them. You can go with them while fast and focus because that's not hard to get an outcast. And you can do some serious damage. He has follow-up healing. He has guaranteed pings of damage for admittedly 8s, which is a high card, but you do have scabs in the keyword. And he does have not terrible drawing and summoning. Like, he just does a lot of things solidly. And I think every time I've played him, I've never felt bad with him. I felt outclassed by a couple of top-tier masters, but I've never felt like what I'm doing is bad. It's always felt really solid, always felt really good. And if it starts working early with the pass tokens, the fast, the focus, killing a model with like Hooded or Dead Rider, normally Pale probably, you just win games. And that's really good.
Yeah, Levy, when I first saw him, he seemed kind of meme. And I think people play him in a meme style sometimes, but he definitely has strengths. He has a million triggers, which is pretty sweet. He has a lot of that gives him a lot of flexibility. I also there was a tournament, the last tournament we had, somebody ran Levy 2 into Jackdaw, which is just like the most wretched matchup for Jackdaw I can imagine because he took 3 riders and his whole crew was willpower 7, movement 7, which like
good.
boy,
with
boy,
Ruthless.
yeah, with Ruthless. So like I don't know.
Yeah. Shout out to Rich. Well done there.
Yeah, I do think he's B. I think that it's very easy to play him badly, or like build bad lists with him.
Yeah, it's so tempting to just go 4 horsemen, even 3 horsemen. You're like, I could fit the third
like sometimes you won't go 4 horsemen, and that's obviously wrong to do. So
yeah,
no, he's good. I think 2 is usually the correct number of horsemen.
Yes. And I think that what you're saying is completely right. People build him to play the horses, and that's really cool. It's bad. 2 horses. He has amazing support models in Amalgam keyword. Just do it.
You know what's a lot of fun?
Potentially 3 A bombs by Deso.
Use the mech rider to build in a crow on Alice. That's fun.
Yeah. Whose turn is it?
Yours.
Okay. I think you guys actually have it wrong. I flipped Levy 1 and Levy 2, if only because here's my thought. You're going to go matchup fishing, trying to get a matchup where you want Levy 1, right? And you'd be like, I rolled Hoff into Levy. Now I can just declare Levy 1, right? But I think in general, for like most neutral matchups, I'll call it, you're going to want to just hire Levy 2 just because he has a lot more going on that's not like enemy specific, where you have like fast, generically speedy models that just score points and win games, opposed to Levy 1 where you're kind of really hoping to get those matchups to actually leverage your strengths well. Like, pass tokens are really good. He does the pass token thing. He hires riders, which are just generically versatile models that always do the right thing on the table, right? And I think that sort of thing is just what you're looking for. And as mentioned, like, they're both, it's the combined package of Levy, right? I feel like if they're not in the same tier, though, you're going to play Levy 2 more games, and thus I'd want to put him up higher on the tier list. I don't know. Am I explaining myself well? Ask me questions.
You are.
Yeah, you are.
Yourself. I don't know if I agree, but I do get what you're saying. I just think that like ranged irreducible is just, there's a floor on how bad that can be.
Yeah, but he also just has pulse damage, right?
Yeah, pulse ping 1 is massive.
6-inch pulse, mind you, for just 1 damage that you can do 3 times.
That is a lot.
Like, they both have degenerate stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with them being where they are, only because like the you know, I don't think that most people that play him seriously are gonna take 4 horsemen. They're gonna be a reasonable person to take like 2, but like sort of the stars of the crew, it seems, and they're good. But if they die, they get better in late game. And like in Malifaux, as a general premise, the later that the game goes, the less likely you are to sort of finish, especially when you have like 2.5 hour bits. So I think for that purpose, and then also because like if you're going to be really a bunch of like expensive elite models, you're going to be passing a lot, and I just feel like that worries me in terms of like actual like tournament competency. Does that make sense? Maybe that's completely outside
Yeah,
the
if you
box
blame
and not
Lucius, he's gonna draw a million cards.
wild.
I don't think that makes sense to me.
Yeah, that
but
doesn't. I'm not sorry.
I don't know. That's where I'm at. I don't. He seems cool, but also I haven't really played a lot against him.
Like-
but hopefully soon. I mean, especially now with this box out.
Maybe it's just tournament grinder mindset, but like I rarely go to time on games. Like maybe I go to time like once every 2 tournaments, right? But like usually then it's late turn 4.
I feel
don't
like if
know.
you're going to time, you're probably not going to time on the crew that has like 6 models in it.
Yeah, that too.
I will say this: the only reason I don't actually put him above Levy 1 is purely because it costs you a stone to get the pass token. I think of it as costing a stone because I don't trust drawing the tome.
The mask, sure, or the tome, sure.
And with that being like, that's huge, and to just have to also be down like a couple stones turn 1 is always kind of annoying. But yeah,
All right, let's talk
I'll
about
just keep
Hamelin.
it here, and then I'll go right into Hamelin. So I'll just make the quick shout out for you people in the Vassal World Series. There's a recent kind of ruling where if you use his bonus action to make a bunch of Malifaux rats into a Rat King, that Rat King gets 1 action for each one of those rats. That's ridiculous. Easy S tier off that. You can do just a nutty.
No, we're not. We're
turn
not going to
1.
pretend that's a real rule.
We're not. I was getting to that. We're not going to take that into account for grading that. If your local allows you to do that, this guy is insane. If they don't, which I think most locals won't allow you to do, and I'm hoping the World Series will probably change its mind once I ram it down their throats, because I'm just going to start playing this until they fix it. I think he's probably low B. I'm not a fan of obey models. I've already been over that. This isn't an obey model. That's the other one who I am a huge fan of. I'll get to that. He's a
You're
lure
all over the
guy.
place.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He's a lure guy. I'm not a big fan of what he does. I actually almost want to put him in C. I'm really not a big fan. I've seen the list that kind of turns him on that you might have seen in Discord. It's been talked about a lot, where you just go nuts with a rat making engine. And it's pretty cool. And I think just for the respect of that list and how much fun it can be, I'll give him in B. It's just so hard to play that I'd almost keep him like high C. But I think he's good enough to be in B. The Pestilent Tumors is just without a doubt an amazing ability to pulse out 2 damage for losing a rat and getting blight tokens out. And because you killed a rat, you're also drawing a card because you get their demise ability. I think it's hard for him to be in C because of those scenarios, but it really is outclassed by most other masters in the game. I don't find him reliable, and that's my biggest issue with him. I like low B, possibly high C.
Yeah, I would put him at low B or high C as well. I think that he has some cool stuff he can do, but a lot of his cards seems to be telling you like put blight tokens on enemy models, and this version actually has a fairly difficult time doing that. I mean, he can do some. He can reliably do a small number of blight tokens, but I don't think he puts them out as quickly as or effectively as his title version. And so one thing that does actually buoy him up for me is his totem is insane. Like his totem is incredibly good. But I think that there's just too many crews these days that can just kill an arbitrary number of rats from a safe distance. And when you are doing that, he kind of doesn't do anything. So low B, high C.
I don't think I agree with a single thing any of you guys said, except for the fact that his title is better at putting out blight tokens. Like Terminal is just such a nutso trigger that I don't think you can ever like say he does nothing on his activations. Like it's sure, and his stat 7 lure is really good, right? Because it also gives out the blight tokens, but like the terminal trigger on Blackstaff and the pitch or it's I don't even think you have to pitch a blight token to get rid of triggers for coughing fit. Like those 2 things are really, really strong. And like he gets the blight tokens out passively, right? It's not like Hamelin 2 where you just delete models instantly in 1 activation, like, is really, really strong. But like you get enough of them out over the course of the game. And I don't even think the rat engine list is like the correct or best Hamelin 1 list you can bring. I think he himself is just tanky enough that you can bring like models that just fight and just generate a bunch of free rats, eventually maybe make a rat king. I don't know. You don't need to invest in that engine. It just kind of pulls itself together if you bring like 2 rat catchers, right? Because then you get 3 rats every time a model dies. So I don't know. I've played him a few times. I think Hamelin 1's actually pretty good. Terminal is a disgusting trigger, and he just kind of deletes a model a turn. Right? And his title does that probably better, but I think he's still really good.
Yeah,
So I would say he's at the very least B. I don't think I would ever argue for C.
I love Hamelin. He's such a cool everything. But like Coughing Fit, maybe its 6-inch range is sort of less good. But like, dude, it just like stopping triggers in a way that you can't interact with is absurdly powerful. But like probably B.
Yeah, you know, I'll defend.
I think
myself
maybe
a
higher
little
than
bit.
Schill though. I don't know.
I would agree.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll actually give you that, mainly because I've actually never seen anyone play Beat Stick Hamelin, and I actually love that idea a good amount.
I mean, I've played it every time I've played it.
I've never played you when you played Hamelin, but yeah.
So
I agree. I actually like Beat Stick Hamelin's concept. I'm still just not a big fan. He's just not reliable in my mind. Because I hate his keyword, and that's going to sound really weird when I do his title. It's just so frail, and it dies so easily to most factions right now, and most good masters. The whole keyword just crumples.
Well, they
But
are
with
they
that
are a little
being
under the
said-
weather.
Yeah. With that being said, I really would like to see a Hamelin list that just is Outcast beaters and just goes in and tries to mess things up. 'Cause I actually don't. I don't think you need most of anything from his keyword to actually turn him on. You just take Outcast first the tiles and go for it.
I
I
like
feel
rat
like you,
catchers, but yeah.
yeah, you want a rat catcher.
Yeah, one, but they die so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that is hurting him is in the current meta, it's much easier to just kill an arbitrary number of rats. And like,
And benefit off of it sometimes.
I mean, he sometimes like, I mean, obviously, yeah, he draws cards from that, but like, he spent resources generating rats usually. And it's sort of like if you can stay on top of them and manage them, then he has a hard time. But yeah, I mean, I agree with Landon that like if insofar as he has like very strong sort of high tier plays, it's like stacking 1 million injured on somebody and then letting Auric just pound them into the ground like a fence post.
Brandon, you've said enough.
I've said enough. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, like Coughing Fit is a hell of a drug.
Yeah. I'm gonna go insane now on the title, and if you watch my videos, you might see why I believe in this. But I actually will just go slap Hamelin in S tier. If he's not S tier, he's above Schill, I think, in A tier. This guy's a monster. It's so easy to get Blight onto a model and then just immediately start deleting a whole crew. It's kind of ridiculous, especially with the rat engine working the way it works now, which is for every 2 Malifaux rats, you essentially get a pass token. I guess I'll explain that quickly. The rats have an ability where they can pass their activation. Your opponent loses a pass token, and then you chain activate. And then you do that again with the second rat, and then the chain activation rule prevents you to going into a third rat. So therefore, you force them to lose a pass token and then activate. So you get activation control. I think without that,
They
he's
lose
not
2
that
pass
good.
tokens and then they activate. But yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they lose 2 pass tokens. You lose 2 activations, but then they're then forced to activate. So yeah, it is basically a pass token.
Yeah, so you're basically plussing 1 pass token. It's amazing. I think without that ability, he definitely drops down a lot. But because he's able to do that, you're able to go for these late activation, multiple plays in a row where you go with Hamelin, you get your bonus action on them, you get 2 Blight on them, then you obey them, get 2 Blight on them. You probably maybe had to walk a couple times, but if you didn't, pop them with Bleeding Disease to just do a nice 4. And then bring them towards you. And then you can have a fast obedient wretch actually is a monster with killing things with Blight on it, as well as just a Fax Nix you can go in with. All uninteractable because you're going like 3 activations in a row if you brought 4 rats and
Help
1
me out.
initiative.
How do they get fast?
You have multiple ways of giving fast in the keyword.
2 rats.
Yeah, the keyword doesn't hand out fast.
It does, just only to vermin.
It does. The way you're getting fast is with you're hiring 1 second, I'm blanking. Who's the
You hire one of the
default
fast
person?
models. Yeah, there's plenty of fast models
Student
out
of
of the
conflict
faction.
is who I
Sure.
hire.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'll do it.
Okay, that makes more
I was
sense.
blanking on who I hire that gives it. I hire student of conflict in order to either give Nyx or Wretch fast, depending on depending on who needs to go.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I not certain about S, but that's only because I haven't played very many games against him yet. So if you like, I don't like Obey Masters. I think that we talked about this when we talked about Zoraida in the Neverborn video, but Hamelin's Obey is I think one of the better obeys in the game. It doesn't have Ensorcel, but Music in the Air is like kind of rude as hell.
I did forget to mention that.
He has a trigger on 2 of his different range 12 actions that is just immediately push an enemy 2 inches. You don't need to win the duel. You just push him. So that's rude. I think that a lot of his crew is all about like stacking blight on stuff and then cashing it in. And Hamelin 1 just really struggles to get enough blight out there, and a lot of that text kind of doesn't do anything. And Hamelin 2 just like has infinite blight all the time. But again, I'll believe it in S because you are a good player and you've got games in with and against him. I have only got 1 game against him so far, and I've watched a few other games, but I've only played against him myself once, and I didn't have a problem with him. But I think the guy I was playing wasn't super familiar with him either, so I don't feel very confident changing that ruling.
I think I want to put him down to A. If not because I don't disagree that he's a tabling monster, but I feel like there's enough times where you might just get lost in like the tabling to the point where like his keyword and any out of keyword hires you might have, honestly, don't scheme quite well enough to make up for it in something like Break the Line, right? Because like none of his keyword is super good at scheming, and if I'm being frank, Midnight Stalker is not the greatest out of keyword schemer you can hire in the game for how frail it is, and I just don't think Outcast has great out of keyword options for that. So being in a keyword that doesn't do it particularly well to begin with can lead you to struggling in some pools, I think. I mean, just kill your opponent and he can't scheme is always a good option, right? But I feel like it's not always objectively the best option all of the time. And that's why I think puts me down from S to A.
I mean, Benny schemes pretty well.
Does he though?
I mean, marker schemes, yeah.
But like marker schemes, I don't even think are half the packet right now.
That's true, but it
Catcher
sure
doesn't help you out with the strategy.
Catcher's your marker scheme, and I
Yeah.
agree. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but he does it.
I also
I
think
like
that
he struggles in strategies. That's all.
the stolen
Break
are
the
kind of
Line.
insane if you're able to get blight
Or
out there.
symbols.
Like stolen are so good if you're getting blight out there, and he does it. He does it really easily.
Agree. He tables people really well. I
Yeah.
just don't think he wins like symbols or break the line pools with great frequency or great enough frequency for me to say that he's S tier.
Okay, I buy that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty compelling. I mean, I really like Obey Masters, but I definitely realize that that's like sort of a tax that you pay, the ability to do that. But man, Music in the Air, hell of a trigger. I think I'm probably an A. I think he's better than everybody else in A, but I don't know. I think I need to see more games with him being all around good at everything.
Yeah,
All right.
my defense, I'll keep him in S because I'm in control. But my defense
Wild.
basically is going to come down to the simple fact that playing those games, I have yet to have a problem scoring too much, mainly because Scabs and Nyx by himself actually do it pretty well, especially when you can obey your own models. So I haven't found it too hard in order to scheme and strat, but Landon knows me. I'm a huge proponent of the kill the crew, do it anyways. And
I feel like I can think of at least 2 games where you lost because you just didn't have enough points.
yeah, that might be true. That being said, though, I don't remember, but it probably is true. I've gotten a lot better with the crew lately. It's a very hard crew, I think, to run. I do agree. Its hardest thing is the marker tracks. Like break the line, pretty much. It's break the line is the problem. Symbols and turf and the last one I'm blanking on's name aren't too big of an issue.
Yeah, I mean, with break the line, it's just you need to spend a lot of AP doing interact actions, and his keyword's not going to do a great job of that. So
yeah, so I can definitely see lowering him to A just because of the kind of meh quality in break the line where you really do have to table the guy, and if you're playing specifically break the line on flank or corners. Where it's just harder to spread out, then I I actually see how he's a little bit worse in those scenarios.
All right.
That being said, let's go on to Vix, my absolute M2E favorite models in the game. Got to adore them.
You have them
think
in
I
reverse
have them
order
in
there.
reverse order. Do I put her in C or actually D? My literal favorite models in the game. I'm willing to keep them in C. But this is legitimately a close one. I think these models are trash. I've never seen them do anything really successfully. There are a few games where I saw Battle Temple be useful, and the keyword having them be useful. Ronin are kind of a really interesting model. But I am so underwhelmed by what these people do. They're too slow, in my opinion, hilariously too frail, especially in this day and age. I think they just immediately die and do nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I've killed both Victorias in a single activation before. So it's rough. Like, I think the issue is that there's sort of breakpoints where when you cannot one round the Vix, or you can't do it reliably, then they have a lot of play because engaging them is so dangerous. But as the game gets more killy, there are more things in the game that can one round one of them. And once you're doing that, it's kind of like there are just things you can't drop them into. And they don't have a totem, which sucks. And they're just, I don't know, like, I want to like them, but they're so fragile. 8 is not enough health. Yeah, I'm fine with C. I mean, I wouldn't even disagree with D, but I'll put them in C.
I think that if I played Outcasts, I would give these people a lot more time than they get, because I think that, having played a lot of second edition, Accomplice is the most busted rule you can slap on a master. They basically have that, but better, but worse. And like stat 7 attacks, not as rare as they used to be, but they're still pretty good. Like, I don't know. I'm still a pretty big fan in general, but they definitely have noticeable weaknesses. I guess I can't argue that they aren't C tier at the end of the day, but I think they're a good C tier, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think C tier is maybe the case because their strengths are narrow, which is our literal definition of C tier.
Right.
There has to be, again, a floor on how bad 6 AP worth of stat 7 min 3 damage attacks can be. But I really, just as a general, like, not design philosophy, I get the premise, but I just hate the idea of battle tempo. It's like, maybe it's just like my personal play style and everything, but I prefer crews and in all games, things that are reactive. And it just is so, like, planny and not, like, I just don't see, I don't know, I feel like it helps my opponent more than it helps me. And I just really dislike it. And so, like, for that, I'm, like, tempted to just windmill slam D. But I think C, like, having two 3 AP models that stat 7 min 3 damage, that seems fine. There's worse that you could do.
Yeah, I think we've all said kind of our place on the Vix.
Man, I hate battle tempo though.
Vix 2, it doesn't fix like any of those problems. I've seen all the cute things you can try to play with it, like placing your models and getting a lot of extra movement, having a plus flip on your whirlwind. It still just doesn't seem to do enough. I wanted it to be good. I really did. I don't think it is. I'll still put it in C tier.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the Vix and I was like, oh, there's some kind of, first of all, they are a lot more durable. That's true. There's some cute stuff you can do with like hazardous, and then I looked and their hazardous aura is a 1-inch aura.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, they can drop scheme markers at range. Oh, it's within 1 inch. Like, what the hell? They're just not like. First of all, yeah, they're even with battle tempo does not make them maneuverable. Diving charge does not make them maneuverable. They're not maneuverable enough for me to be really excited about the fact that like literally everything they cannot interact with the board for the farther than 1 inch away from themselves, except for removing scheme markers with claim the bounty. Yeah, I don't know. It's sad. I think they're cool. I have very fond memories of the Vix avatar in first edition, which is what this is based on. which was an extremely cool design, but this is not that.
So combat maneuvers are really good ability, and I feel like they go out of keyword a bit better than the first one did. But I just want to like rewind a bit and say that I kind of disagree with them being more tanky than the first one. Like you get 12 wounds versus 16 wounds, right? And that's just obviously less wounds. If bulletproof is relevant or combat finesse is relevant, then sure, it's probably tankier or harder to hit. But I don't know if they have the card draw to really make combat finesse like super good. So I don't even know that I agree that they're tankier.
Yeah, defense
I have
5
this
on a
like
12 wound master.
complex where I want to make Vix good, just because everyone else says they're bad, and I recognize that probably makes me evaluate them a bit better. So I was going to go with B tier, but like I can be talked down to C tier.
They do have some card draw. Like Claim the Bounty is card draw.
Eh,
It's just the kind of card draw that makes you spend a bunch of AP to set it up.
yeah, I
Which
don't think
is
that's something
when
you're
you-
doing when you're in the middle trying to make defense duels.
Also,
Yeah,
you're
no,
in
I'm-
Outcast with Yannick.
Yeah,
This
I don't know.
I think low C. I think lower than original Vix. So it just like every single thing that is printed on this card makes me wish that it were just like slightly different or slightly better, or there was like slightly more synergy to it. I mean,
Give them a
Whirlwind,
2-inch melee, like
yeah,
please.
like Whirlwind Blades. They have half as many attacks with it, and they doubled everything else. Why isn't it 2-inch melee? Why is Claim the Bounty all ski markers and not just all markers? Why is just oh my god! There's so
I
many
think
things.
combat maneuvers are actually good. The only thing I would say is I'd like for it to ignore concealment. But,
Yeah, combat maneuvers fine. It's a neat ability. Like just 1 inch on drop a ski marker. 1 inch on hazardous. It just like if I don't know. She just like everything I look at her is frustrating, and I really hope that they errata her to just be like just double every number on this card and it'll be fine.
I just want to
Oh,
point
yeah.
out that she has a TN.
Also, she's defense 5. What the fuck?
Yeah, she has a TN to drop a scheme marker that pulses out focus if you discard a bunch of cards for it, whereas Lady Justice drops a marker farther away that's a bigger marker, and people don't have to discard cards to get focus from it.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, but think about it. It's synergy with Yannick. You can discard the scheme marker once to get
yeah.
cards.
Yeah,
No,
no,
you got
you know
it.
what? No, I take it back. Doubling is ridiculous, obviously, but no, literally, if you just add 1 to every single number on this card, I'm all in. And I don't even think I don't even think that'd be ridiculous. Maybe not size 4. That's probably too much, but
Hey, it's 2 people standing on top of each other. 2 height
Yeah,
models
two
on
size
top of
two
each other.
yeah.
That's height 4.
one person plus 1 person is 2 people standing on top of each other. That's why it should be. Yeah, exactly. Everything
at a
adds
bare
add 1 to
minimum.
every stat. Every single number on this card, add 1 to it, and I'm all
At a
in.
bare minimum, she should have a 2-inch melee, and it's totally unforgivable that she doesn't.
I agree.
And
I will say
and
this.
defense 5. Why?
Yeah.
Why
should
does
be
she
6'6".
lose a defense? She should be 7'6". It should be. They should do the same thing that they did in the difference between the Carriffy and the Carriffy duet to Viktoria Chambers and Viktoria Chambers Twin Blades. Literally all the changes. They should just linear them over.
What if they made it so that you could form the Vix into the title Vix?
Oh no, not even remotely.
I just want to
Okay.
point out real quick before we move off this topic that the Avatar Vix that they're based on did not have a walk stat. She could only charge. Her only ability to move around the board was by charging. And if she, her first AP each turn had to be either a melee attack or a charge, or her activation immediately ended.
Lol.
But she did have various abilities to teleport around the board. And if she got into melee with you, you just like instantly died.
Yeah, that sounds awesome, and that's what this should be, and it's not, and it makes me sad. The model's cool though.
Mhm.
S. I mean, sorry, C, not S.
All right, Parker.
I just want to say one last thing real
Okay.
quickly. I
Maybe
actually
D.
like her quite a lot as a second master Chitara too. Because when you kidnap a model that's already activated, you can have the hazard aura is really nice, as well as if she can get attacks off. Like it allows you to actually like guarantee kill something always.
Mhm.
That being said, let's go to Parker, who I really want to put in D, but I know is not that bad. So I'm going to put him at high C. Can I be talked into B? I can, but for now I'll put him in high C.
I think you
Not a
spelled
fan.
S
Never
wrong.
been a fan. He's been bad for a long time. He does some very cute things, but the simple fact that just half of his stuff doesn't seem to work correctly because it's just weirded poorly. It always kept him lower down. I'll let other people try to talk me out of this, but he just feels weak every time I see him, and the one time I've tried playing him. So
I actually really like his card a lot. I think his keyword is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Except for Mad Dog, obviously, but I shouldn't even have to say that. Everyone knows Mad Dog is good. But like, I really like his card. It's just he's a master that. First of all, I'm just not bearing the lead. Hi C, yeah. He's a master that like has to set up and then pay off his own shtick. Like he's a setup payoff master, which means he's like an A-B master. You need to have A and B because A by itself doesn't really do anything. It's actually worse than doing nothing because it gives your opponent markers, which they often would like to have. And then B is you need to have set it up first. And I don't love masters that do that because it means you need 2 flips to succeed instead of 1. So that's sort of my like fundamental problem with the design philosophy of his crew. But I do think his card is full of really cool actions. Like I love his guns. I know they're stat 5, but they're often not stat 5. And the run and gun is really strong, like really, really, really strong. So there's a lot of mobility. He has some kind of like surprising ability to do his own schemes, but ultimately he's let down by his keyword and the fact that he basically has to take twice as many actions, and they all have to succeed to get his thing done.
No.
I think I'll be the one who tries to talk you into B. Like,
Such a
firstly,
contrarian.
Oh, just wait.
he
I have some
like
spicy
gives
takes.
Mad Dog his hidden 4th AP with Bandit Raid, right? So that's pretty good. Stick up sometimes is just like stealing stones, and there are a lot of crews out there that just like take high caches these days because they want high caches for a variety of reasons. So being able to just like take soul stones can be really good. The fact that they might also take damage or just drop a bunch of cards is like secondary to that, in my opinion. So like people might say, "Oh, but it's an action that doesn't do anything." Well, it's like no, it's because I don't want the stones. You know, I don't think you take that action when you're not taking soul stones though. And the other thing is that he just has 14 wounds, good defensive stats, and sometimes just generates you a ton of resources. Like for models like Eric or like Mad Dog who just ask for the world and resources, but give you the world back if you can give it to them, I feel like he's not a bad thing to turn that on. Like his biggest downside is I think he doesn't make cards well, but like he makes a lot of stones.
Stones are good.
Yeah, like I don't know, low C. I just don't see anything that is particularly appealing about his crew or him, for that
Run
matter.
plus gun.
Run and
Mad
gun is
Dog.
cool, yeah, but like I don't know. I mean, Mad Dog, sure, but like I don't know.
Pearl's
Mad-
pretty good.
No, Pearl's awful.
Pearl is good.
I
Pearl
hate
is very
Pearl.
good.
No, Pearl Musgrove or a different Pearl
Yeah,
that I've
Pearl
not read the
Musgrove.
card
She's
to.
great.
Is she?
Yes, she
Ton
is.
of healing.
All right.
Tons of healing.
Cool.
Yeah. Pearl is definitely a slept on model.
Yeah, I mean, I like the premise of his crew. I like the flavor, but I just don't like the model. Like he does not appeal to me in whatsoever. Run and gun is fine unless you're fighting an army that a faction that's like can have any amount of protection from ranged attacks.
Ignoring concealing would be nice.
Yeah,
Card comes up.
As a cowboy gun crew, like why doesn't he just say like models that share a keyword with this model ignore concealment? I don't know. I guess that's what the built-in plus flips on everything is for, to like ignore the concealing, but like that they're also like his whole crew has garbage damage, right, with the exception of Bracket, but I just know.
And Sue.
Yeah,
Well,
Sue's
I
good.
think Landon's
Sue's good.
right. Stick up is the action, and that doesn't ignore concealment. Like it's actually super annoying.
Yeah,
it is.
it's
But
not
what do
great.
we think about Parker 2?
Parker 2, on the other hand, I have no idea.
Yeah, still trash. Slightly
S
better
tier.
trash though. So
Yeah.
everyone's tried. My good friend Landon and Goodman have both tried to sell me on like some crazy nuts plays you can get by lassoing people into good locations and investing all these resources to get some good blast damage off with Mad Dog. It's still trash. Like it's just not good. Nor is it reliable because it doesn't work on henchmen and hard to wound models really. And yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. It does do things slightly better, I think, than Parker 1. But again, Stat 5 gun is just so silly to see on a master. And this one's always Stat 5. So good lord.
I am going to disagree with you and put him in B above Von Schill and possibly above Hamelin. I think this master is cool. Like, I didn't like him at all at first. I was kind of like, so okay, here's caveat here. If Perdition worked, he would be top of B, bottom of A.
It does.
Perdition
work, but go
doesn't
on.
work.
It does work, but go on.
You know what I mean? Like, if it worked the way I wish it did. However, he has a lot of really cool play to him, and Broken Man's Lasso is a gruesomely good attack.
Agree.
That attack is super good. Like a push with staggered that ignores friendly fire. And like sometimes even has an execute and it's targeting move. So that just inherently sort of sidesteps a bunch of defensive tech. Like it effectively ignores cover, for instance. Doesn't ignore concealment, which is a problem, but he hands out injured in an unresistible way. He like can he counter schemes well. He still has run and gun, and his rifle, yeah, it's only stat 5. I think the first thing people saw when they looked at this card is like, oh, guns blazing, severe 6. But like that's something you can maybe sometimes do, but it's not the thing on his card that's exciting to me. The thing on his card that's exciting to me is like Broken Man's Lasso makes your opponent's turns like just absolutely suck. And then your opponent's crew is injured, and then they'll get shot off the board. He seems fine to me. He can also Perdition could put out like a ton of damage if you're building for it properly. A ton of damage. I think that I've seen that list. I don't know who is it on the Discord as a whole was doing with like Benny and Pearl and just like trying to maximize Perdition, and that list seems really cute to me. Like I like it. I would put him in. I would put him in B. I would put him in not even the bottom of B. I just think that like there's your opponent. He can really have these really powerful proactive activations that leave your opponent in terrible shape.
All right. High B tier because he's actually just better Jackdaw for this faction, or he turns Jackdaw up to 11 as a second master. Because you just take this guy, you take Montresor, you put people into just like a bubble of death they can't leave from and they can't punch their way out of because Montresor's already really tanky. And you're probably not taking Ruthless into Parker unless you expect to see Montresor for some reason. And he just plays, I think, bubble pools better than most of the not S tier masters named Hamelin.
Do you if you're hiring him and Daw, do you hire Parker in or declare Parker?
I think you would hire Parker in because you want hanged, and that's how you make that work.
Because I like that also because there's nothing on his card that's locked to him being the leader.
Because like the thing that makes I think Jackdaw suffer a little bit or Montresor suffer a little bit is that he's slow and you don't have really good ways to put people in his bubble. But Parker Barrows does. He just like staggers them and puts them in the bubble where they can't remove staggered at the same time. And like if he ignored concealing, I'd say he'd be easy A tier, but he doesn't, which is unfortunate. But like I think he's really good.
Yeah, I agree.
So based on that argument alone, I think I have to say C tier. Because I guess if you have to take a model out of keyword, that's one thing to make the dude work, like cool. But as a general, like as a master, I think that the design space of requiring him to be like his only good use case is that as a second master where he's not the leader and that you're taking him and then you have to have a specific combination of models that make him like do stuff is just like horseshit. And
you just hire the henchman into his crew.
Yeah, you can just hire Montresor into his crew, and if maybe that pushes him up into B. But man, that just feels bad all around.
I mean, I don't even think you need to. Although the synergy is too good to ignore, but you don't even need to.
Well, I mean, you don't, but like I don't know. I don't think I ever wouldn't. Like, why would you not do that? If you really want to play Cowboys, do it. But
maximize Perdition build.
I mean, I guess.
I think the maximize
no.
I think Benny is the correct way to playing if you're
just
playing Parker.
No. They need to errata Perdition, and then they need to, I don't know, or just like change it so that it functions the way that it seems to be intended to me. But no, I just think he's not very good.
For those who might not understand what we say when we talk about why Perdition's so bad, it's because all the drop it triggers, the model drops it, the enemy model, so they get to place it out of line of sight of Parker Barrows every time.
And because
it never is inside his aura 10, and therefore he never gets Perdition.
And like if he were not a 30 mil and literally every single model in the entire game couldn't just drop it out of his line of sight, that'd be great. But I just feel, except for I guess size 1, they can if you
get it when he does it, because when you get a drop it trigger, it has to be within the line of sight of the model who's declaring the trigger.
Yeah.
But the list we've been talking about is basically a list that uses Benny Wolcomb's ability to turn rats into schemes and schemes into rats, to constantly just be dropping scheme markers near your enemy's models and not relying on drop it. Basically, just do that and then get a million perdition triggers that way.
Yeah,
That's
that one's pretty good, probably.
That seems
Yeah.
effective if it works, but it also seems very narrow and maybe not
There's
easily
one guy in
avoidable. But
Discord who swears by it, and I like that guy and his gumption, so I'll at least keep him in B. But I generally agree with you. I've never seen him pop off in any real level, so
yeah,
I'm still kind of a fantasy. But I do think that that's a cute enough way to play him, and
yeah.
it works relatively well in theory.
One
I mean, you
day
gotta
I hope
think
he
about
pops
it,
off
right?
sis,
Like,
but
he theoretically has a front of card ability that lets any model that's not engaged take a 1 AP action to pulse damage, right?
Yeah.
Like, that can't be that bad.
I mean,
It's not.
that's
It is nice. I will never deny the fact that Perdition is just like a good ability because you guys know me. I adore just free damage guaranteed. Like it's the strongest thing in Malifaux, bar none. But
He
it's just
also-
so
I mean,
unreliable.
I guess
None of us have talked about this, but he hands out a bunch of unresistible injured.
yeah. No, we talked about it. Some couple people mentioned it.
Injured one.
I like the idea that a bunch of ping damage is really good at killing Jackdaw. So like, if a bunch of dudes get together with Parker, they're like going to hunt down Jackdaw, and they're like, "All right, we're gonna do it," and then they just activate and like interact near Jackdaw, and then he's like, revenge.
That's exactly
Yeah.
how it happens.
That's how. Yeah, that's what he
That's
says.
Good transition.
Okay, wild.
All right, good. Yeah, good transition. Jackdaw. Still really good. Not amazing, I think, anymore. We've talked about him in Rezzers. In Outcasts, he's a little bit weirder because you get Outcast models, which are normally
Outcast
not better,
upgrades.
but you get Outcast upgrades, which are definitely not better normally. So he definitely goes down. I still think he's an A tier master. I mean,
I think he's
maybe
strictly
in
worse than
Outcast?
Parker too.
Did
strictly
we?
worse
Yeah.
than
Did
Parker
we
too.
put him in A last time? I do
We
not
did
think
not.
we put him in A
We
last
put him
No,
time.
we
in B
didn't.
last time.
Well,
I
to be
think
fair,
I
last
just
time he
have
had
all this
Whisper.
Outcast nostalgia of Jackdaw.
Not Whisper, the heal one.
I actually really don't. See, I know he performs well because I know the one Outcast player in our Vassal League that just plays this guy in Outcast and wins a good amount. But then I know Brian, who plays this guy in Outcast and loses a lot.
Damn.
Is it Texas Brian?
No, this is our
Schemes
Brian.
and- Schemes
We
and
wouldn't.
Oh,
we
Schemes
wouldn't
and
shit
Stones
talk
Brian.
anyone who's not
Oh.
our Brian.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Oh no, I think Texas Brian's it's
Who is-
Rezzers anyway.
yeah.
I was like, man, I saw Texas Brian
No,
play
do
this
not
at
do not
fucking
put him in A.
Adepticon,
That
and
is
he's
not
like,
allowed.
Okay,
really
I'll
good.
put him above Parker because I don't like Parker.
No, betrayal.
I
I mean, that is
Betrayal.
I'm quitting the podcast and the channel if you put
No,
him.
so-
No, I'm not really.
So I think he's a C in Outcasts, like top of C, but C. I mean, I do not like this model. I think that the one thing that I will be talked into maybe having him in B is that the existence of DAW 2 means that you can declare him into you can declare him more safely. Because you can just audible into DAW 2 if you run into one of the many things that just instantly beats DAW 1. But yeah,
like Parker Barrows too.
Well, I was specifically thinking about our conversation about Levy earlier, which was still one of the funnier game experiences I've ever seen. But I think that I put him top of C. He really wants those Rezzor upgrades and doesn't like losing them. He likes Rezzor versatiles because they're really good. He doesn't I don't know. He doesn't excite me. I think that he's lost a lot of his mojo. If you know what he's doing, it's just easier to play around him. I would put him above or below Parker. If you're going to keep him in B, which I disagree with, at least he's the bottom of B.
I mean, I said it when we talked about Parker too. I still think he belongs below Parker too.
All right, you know what?
Like
Sure.
suppressed memories
Fine.
is a really good action, right? Like,
Yeah,
if you're maximizing suppressed memory usage, I think you can be okay, right? I think the usual style you see people play him is like Dead Man's Collar Beat Stick, but like, I think that's worse.
That's not good.
it's fine. So, the fact that you have Emissary in Outcast, which is just a nutty model, and you have Servant of Darker Powers also moving forward, it's pretty easy to just be anywhere you want with Dolph. But I will admit that modern day Malifaux has a lot of counters to his hard to
Yeah,
kill
and I mean,
ability.
he also has like seriously broadcasted weaknesses that the title also kind of has, where it's like, oops, I hope they don't take any terrifying. Or not terrifying. Well, I mean, even still, I think his
Ruthless.
struggles are terrifying, but ruthless is what I meant to say there. Although I
Yeah.
do think he does kind of struggle with terrifying sometimes.
Yeah.
But
Well, he's
yeah.
willpower 7.
Yeah, he
I mean,
is.
the rest of his crew is like 5s and 6s, though.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Yeah, I just think there's too much stuff that's like looking at Daw and kind of like rubbing its hands and licking its lips and being like,
Yeah.
oh boy.
I'm pretty firmly in Dossie in outside of Rezzers. Like his whole like his defensive tech just doesn't really function without a bunch of healing and like regeneration and like a Grave Spirit's Touch, I think is what it's called. It's just so absurdly powerful. I know we probably shouldn't rate things objectively like that they're better elsewhere, but without that he just seems like he's gonna die and then you're gonna be sad.
Well, you do give him regen from Memento.
Yeah, you give him the Memento, but even that, I mean,
Oh.
regen 1 is less than half of regen 2.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true, but you also get the better healing model that is the emissary. Who
You know what's actually cute in Outcast is you can
heals.
take him with Marlena.
That is always funny as well.
Meh.
Blade of Mikola.
But also, Servant of Darker Powers is just good. Heal 2 on killing a model. If you go in with him as a beat sick, he gets forward, he gets the regen, he can beat things. But I think modern Malifaux with Burning Man really did nerf him by just models having better ways to just ping him down.
There's a lot more that can do it now, and I think that he did suffer from like the lack of creep up, right? Like or like the power creep, right? He just sort of didn't get better. I don't know.
Because I honestly almost liked him more in Outcasts, and that's like the nutty thing to say is I almost like him more in Outcasts just because I feel like Outcast support versatile pieces are for him only better in Outcasts. The emissary's nutty, scabs are nutty, and you can do some really good things with those models, and you just don't really care about his keyword in Outcast.
Scabs?
Scavengers.
Oh, scabs.
Full for the jobs
Yeah,
is just one of the best things in the game, and you're also giving up focus. Like they're so
very,
good
very
models.
strong. All right. Anything else to say on this guy?
Not really. I'm willing to keep him in B. I still think he has a place in B. I'm
willing to keep him in B, but I would think Parker is above Hamelin in B. So
I put Parker above him, so I'll give you that. Okay. But not Parker. Parker 1 is not better than
not
him
Parker
at
1.
all. They're not even on the same level, which is why I don't want to put them in C.
All right. Daw 2.
Talk about
Daw 2. I don't like Daw 2. I think I talked about that in our Rezzers, unless my opinion changed since then. Don't keep me to my own words. I don't actually know where I put him. I think he's better than Daw 1 now. I like the hazard stuff. The grouping things can be pretty nutty. I'll do this again where I'll put him above Parker and let you talk him down if you want to.
I mean, so my ranking of B is Levy 2, Parker 2, then maybe Hamelin, then Daw 2, then Von Schill, then Daw 1. So I don't think he's above Daw 1. The only I wouldn't ask you to move him just because I'm already like disagreeing with some of your. You'd have to like totally reorder it to make me happy with him. But yeah, I think he's better than Daw 1 just because I think you can play him in a broader variety of pools. I think he's incredibly mobile, which is great. I think that he is. I mean, I don't know if I want to recapitulate everything I said in the Rezzers. I think it all remains true, except he has access to worse upgrades.
Yeah, I still like Daw 2 better than Daw 1. I think, as mentioned, he just kind of has shticks that are less interactive. And I think his upgrade's pretty good. And an Audible Whisper to just draw cards is cool. I don't know what else to really say that we didn't say there. I mean, like, unresistible damage or healing is also just kind of nice with Unquiet Soul. And he also just makes your keyword a bit faster with Cursed Dreams, right?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I think B makes sense here. I think he's just all around better and less gimmicky. That's the word. Yeah, he's less of a gimmick, and like I think there's no world objectively, barring some very skewed and unique circumstances, where you could say that Jack Daw 2 isn't just a strict upgrade to 1. There definitely are use cases for both, but he's faster. I think he has worse support in Outcast than he does in Rezzers, but yeah, I think B's fine. He's a good solid all around guy.
Yeah. I will say this because you mentioned like reorganizing the B tier a little bit, and I don't even completely necessarily disagree with you because I think they're all pretty similar in power levels. I actually think Outcasts is in a really good spot. So it's really hard to make a determination of like, is it above this master or not? And I actually do think the separation by tiers is also actually decently accurate. Maybe not for SNA, honestly, but for otherwise, I think there's actually like a good delineation between the two.
All right. Do we want to talk about versatiles?
Yeah, I would be a little surprised if we all don't have the same two, which I think is the
Three. You get 3.
well, right. I'm just saying 2 of them I'd be surprised if aren't in every single person's list unless they're just trolling, and that's the emissary and scavengers. I think it's just so hard to deny the fact that the emissary is hired basically in every single outcast list, and scavengers I think are the other models that probably should be hired in every single outcast list. Tools for the job is just a nutty ability, and being able to give focus to basically anyone you want while also doing some interesting things with depending on whatever triggers you want is really good. And sometimes they actually just kill things. That being said, my third pick might be a little more controversial because Mad Dog is the other obvious go-to. I'm going to pick Student of Conflict. I think this is a terribly slept on pick in Outcast. I might just adore it because of my playstyle in particular with Hamelin, but largely just the ability to hire this 5-stone model, give fast to a model turn 1, possibly fast to 2 models turn 1, is just insane. Because the follow-up normally is giving fast turn 2 potentially, or just rescuing whatever model you just threw in there with I've got your back, because it's move 6 significant. And size 1 allows you to hide it. I adore this model. I don't know why it's not taken more. Every time I've played it, it's just a powerhouse.
I mean,
Because
I like
it's
this
defense 4.
Yeah, it has defense 4 and 4 health. That's the thing with it. Like a lot of moderates just instantly kill it.
Yeah, which is why, as I was saying, it's nice that it has the size 1 in order to hide behind things, and then it also has the it arguably does its job if it fasted 2 things turn 1.
Yeah, I think that for me, I mean, obviously the emissary. I don't see a lot of people hiring scabs out of keyword, but I think that they are wrong not to do so. I think you're right. They're really good. Tools is really good. They're 5/4 is not super exciting to me, but it's not 4/4 at least. It's really weird for me to not say Mad Dog because like Mad Dog's such an obviously strong pick, but I'd go with Yannick. Like Yannick just like unlocks a bunch of like crazy plays that a lot of crews can do. Yannick is so good. Like, oh my god, she's on my painting desk right now because I'm going to be playing her with Anya too. I just think that Yannick like is priced to move and does a lot of things that like unlock your crew's ability to do stuff. So yeah, those are my 3.
I think Yannick ends up maybe less versatile than she seems in just how well certain crews can enable her versus not, in terms of just like either having the discard outlets or having the schemes. Like, I don't know. For me, I feel like it's probably less good than you think it is, but I also wanted to say that as far as like the Student of Conflict goes, I always liked Dead Outlaw more for that job. TN's a bit less, because I think the student needs a 6 instead of a 5. And then it just has better follow-ups with like the actual having a gun with running gun and being 7 wounds hard to wound instead of just dying. But like I totally get where you'd want to scrimp on the 2 stones and just have that for what it does. But I think when you have the 2 stones, it's a pretty good upgrade.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's purely because my list normally can't afford the 2 stones.
Yeah. The thing I think people need to take out of keyword more is Montresor. I feel like that model is just very good at its job. And I see lots of pools where its job is good and then people just don't hire him. I don't know.
Yeah, I sort of want to just be wild and say crazy things because that's sort of my go-to. But I mean, the emissary is obviously very good. I think
the emissary is my 3rd.
I think my emissary is one for me. I really like him. But I think that although I'm tempted to say Mad Dog for 2, because he's just such a fucking beat stick. But for 3, I'm like sort of torn. I really like the Catalan Brawler. I think he's good, and I prefer to say more in the versatiles. But I think the one that nobody's talked about so far is Prospectors. I really like Prospectors, so I'm going to say number 3 for Prospectors. I think that I don't know. I just really like them. They annoy me when I see them, and that makes me want to murder them. And then I like make bad decisions because they've annoyed me, and that seems bad. So prospectors for the win. Take 3 in every game, even though they're a minion 2. No, they're 3. Wow.
They are 3.
The more you learn. Think of how many soul stones you could have.
Yeah. I will say Yannick for me is an Outcast is really just a Von Schill model. I don't
Zipp.
even really and possibly Zipp, but that's like literally
But
it.
the thing is also you could just take the Catalan rifleman and it's a nice little self-contained package.
Yeah, I just find myself like in my Outcast crews like starving for stones, which is why I actually value student higher than outlaw. But I will also say I do love the prospect. It's so hard because I actually think Outcasts have like a surprisingly good amount of like versatile models that quote unquote versatile models. They just have good out of keyword picks as well that are a little slept on. But
wait, I take it back. Can I say Barbaros, but only if you have the alt sculpt?
Yes.
Yes.
Because nobody should be forced to endure the regular sculpt of Barbaros.
Yeah, when the alt sculpt is so cool. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
Dude, I cannot wait to play him in my Lilith crew.
Yeah.
Bum.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's everything, guys.
Great.
Hire
Yeah.
scavs. Jesus Christ. Tools for the job.
Yeah, tools for
Hire-
the job's way too
Yeah,
good.
hire 3 prospectors in every crew. I mean, I think we're all in agreement here. Yeah, so just make sure to check out our Discord down in the description below. Make sure to like and subscribe. And of course, keep an eye out for the awesome Narrative League stuff that we'll be having coming in a couple days. It's going to be online. You can play wherever. And it's going to be awesome.
All right. Thanks for watching this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any disagreements, put them in the comments. I'll respond to everything. That being said, go check out this version of the video on the Danger Planet if you're watching on my channel. If vice versa, come to my channel. Give it a like. Get that Malifaux content getting spread around to everybody.
Woo.
Other than that, if you want to see more fun things about Malifaux, go watch the Danger Planet and go look at all their stuff. Have a good night, y'all.